Ford says it will lose $3 billion in sales of its electric vehicles to consumers this year.
Ford says it lost $3 billion before taxes over the past 2 years.
Ford reduced costs and putting more investments in EV space, planning to cut up to 8,000 jobs.
Ford CEO announced that the car market is crashing and people need to be aware. Farley highlighted that the automotive industry is grappling with deeply entrenched issues that have proven difficult to address. And if you don't know these things and what's exactly happening, you will be caught in the middle of a dying market. So how is this going to affect you? Now, before you start panicking, we should first analyze the current situation. How did we get here? Remember when car dealerships looked like ghost towns? Fast forward to today and they're filled with shiny new rides. It's like someone hit the reverse button on the auto industry. Rows of Ford F-150s and Ram 1500s just sitting there, collecting dust. Crazy, right? Not long ago, you couldn't find a new car if your life depended on it. People were throwing money at dealerships, begging for anything with 4 wheels. Talk about a one-righty. This is just one of the signs, but let's rewind to pre-pandemic times. Car makers were cruising along, churning out vehicles like clockwork. Then boom, COVID hit. Factories shut down, workers stayed home, and those tiny computer chips? Nowhere to be found. Suddenly, new cars became as rare as toilet paper in 2020. Prices went through the roof. We're talking 30 to 50% above sticker price. Average price tags hit $48,000 in early 2022, up from $40,000 just 2 years before. Want to hear something wild? By mid-2023, the average monthly car payment hit $750. That's like paying rent on a small apartment for your car. No wonder 73% of people felt priced out of the market. So, is the auto market crashing and burning? Well, let's look at the numbers. The data doesn't lie. Right now, we are in the middle of an inventory avalanche, and it's pretty eye-opening. Take the Ram 1500 Laramie trucks, for instance. Current stats show that there's a staggering 645 days worth of these trucks just chilling on dealer lots. This isn't merely a dry number. It tells a story about a huge change in market dynamics. Once prized vehicles that used to vanish as soon as they hit the lot are now gathering dust and rust. Imagine millions of dollars tied up in unsold cars across the country. It's quite a drastic oversupply. It's like a new car parade where no one showed up to watch. To better digest this phenomenon, let's break down what days supply actually means. Essentially, this metric represents how long the current stock of vehicles will last if sales continue at their current pace. A high figure in the days supply usually means there's more inventory than demand, giving rise to a market that's overflowing. Now, here's a little tidbit. Historically, a balanced days supply for new vehicles is around 60 to 90 days. With certain models like that, 645-day stock, it's crystal clear we're not in a healthy situation anymore. This not only points to an oversaturated market, but also sets the stage for potential pricing pressures that might weigh heavily on consumers contemplating a new car purchase. So how are automakers reacting to this enormous inventory problem? They're rolling out the red carpet for buyers with an array of sales incentives, all designed to shake off that sluggish stock sitting like stale bread on dealer lots. We've got cash rebates, super attractive financing rates, and irresistible lease offers aimed at wooing hesitant consumers, especially with rising prices and the prevailing uncertainties in the economy weighing heavily on their minds. It's a carnival of deals out there. But here's the catch. This reliance on incentives comes with a hefty price tag. A clear example comes from Nissan, which recently shouted out that it suffered a jaw-dropping 99% profit loss, thanks directly to this sales tactic of ramping up incentives. This situation is a cautionary tale that raises some red flags about the sustainability of leaning heavily on discounts and rebates as primary sales strategies. Sure, getting a bit of immediate lift in sales sounds fantastic, but what about the long game? While the short term helps struggling dealers offload excess inventory, it's like giving candy to a child. You might end up undermining the big picture of overall profit for automakers. Adding to this stormy scenario, just look at the average incentives per transaction, which have shot up to around $3,300. That's a figure that paints a picture of desperation and signals ever-shifting consumer expectations. Picture it, as buyers grow accustomed to scoring deals, they start to think discounts are the norm, not the exception. This expectation can trap manufacturers in a vicious cycle where they feel compelled to raise those incentives just to keep their sales volumes afloat. And guess what? This can seriously lower their profit margins. Industry analysts are sounding alarms, cautioning that while these incentives might give a quick boost to sales, they can usher in long-standing headaches for manufacturers. The financial strain of maintaining profitability while dishing out steep discounts could hinder future investments in innovation and improvements in quality. The affordability crisis. Can you feel the pinch when it comes to buying a new car these days? You're not alone. Buyers are facing a massive affordability crisis that's only been made worse by some sneaky economic trends. With inventories on the rise and automakers throwing around incentives like candy, it might seem like it's a great time to buy. But hold on, interest rates are climbing and inflation is sticking around like an uninvited guest at a party, making it tougher for consumers to snag those shiny new vehicles. Many potential buyers are left staring at their budgets and wondering how they could ever afford a new car. This affordability crisis isn't some abstract concept. It's a pressing reality that hits home for countless individuals and families who find themselves priced out of the new car market altogether. But what's the deal anyway? Let's dig a little deeper. You know those wage increases you've been hoping for? Well, many people are feeling stuck because their wages aren't keeping up with the rising cost of living. It's like being trapped in a hamster wheel, running faster but getting nowhere. As vehicle prices keep inching higher, consumers' purchasing power is taking a real hit, leaving them in a tough spot. Experts have been sounding the alarm about this issue. Recent surveys reveal that a whopping 73% of people feel as if they can't afford a new car. That statistic isn't just a number. It captures the widespread worry about how to manage finances in our current economic landscape. Given these shifting tides, it's super important for both consumers and manufacturers to get a grip on the changing automotive market. Awareness of these economic factors empowers buyers to navigate their next vehicle purchase wisely. At the same time, manufacturers need to step back and reassess their strategies if they want to stay relevant in a competitive market that's constantly evolving. When faced with these hurdles, potential buyers often rethink their options entirely. Some are looking at choices to hunt for used vehicles instead, while others decide to hold off on buying altogether. So what should you do? There are three main things. Let's start with the first one: the used car market collapse. This is a full-blown crisis, with prices plummeting and demand drying up fast. Wholesale used car prices have taken a nosedive. We're talking about a jaw-dropping 60% drop from their pandemic-fueled peak. Yikes! What's driving this dramatic decline, you ask? Well, it's a perfect storm of too many vehicles and not enough buyers. Dealerships are drowning in a sea of used cars, with repossessions and trade-ins flooding their lots. But with consumers spooked by skyrocketing interest rates and wallet-busting vehicle prices, these dealers are struggling to move their inventory. They're even resorting to auctions, where they're facing the same challenge of finding willing buyers. In fact, the overall used car market has seen a staggering 31% plunge in sales as of June 2024. And it's not just the dealerships feeling the pain. The average interest rate for used car loans has soared past 14%, making it nearly impossible for many folks to finance their dream set of wheels. But here's the kicker: with automakers offering some seriously sweet deals on brand new vehicles, these old ones are losing their value fast. And let's not forget about the poor souls trying to trade in or sell their used cars. They're finding themselves on the receiving end of some seriously deflated offers. Thanks to the downward spiral of prices, their vehicles are just not worth what they used to be. So where does this leave the used car market? Well, according to the experts, it's not looking pretty. They predict that prices will continue to plummet and the complications for both sellers and dealers will only intensify in the months to come. Buckle up, folks. It's gonna be a bumpy ride, but this is a mixed bag of both opportunities and challenges for savvy consumers. On the bright side, the collapse in used car prices is opening up a whole new world of affordability. If you're on a tight budget or just dipping your toes into car ownership, this could be your chance to snag a sweet ride without breaking the bank. With prices dropping, more and more people can suddenly afford the vehicle of their dreams. And it's not just about the bottom line. This market shakeup also means you've got a much wider selection to choose from. Those high-end models or top-of-the-line features that were once out of reach, well, they might just be within your grasp now. Plus, with dealers desperate to clear out their overstocked lots, you're in a prime position to negotiate some jaw-dropping deals. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows those folks. This used car market mayhem isn't without its downsides. For starters, those dizzying price drops could make lenders a bit jittery, leading them to tighten up financing options and slap on higher interest rates. Oh, and let's not forget the quality concerns. In the rush to offload inventory, some sellers might be tempted to cut corners on inspections and maintenance, so you could end up with a car that's more trouble than it's worth. So what's the other way out here? Well, let's talk about the second factor in all of this, the EV enigma. Have you ever thought about the electric vehicle market as the shiny new frontier in transportation? It's often painted as the future, offering cleaner and more sustainable options compared to good old gasoline-powered cars. But here's the twist. The journey to fully adopting EVs has been anything but smooth. Even major players in the automotive field, like Ford and General Motors, are facing some serious financial struggles that could shake their ability to compete in this rapidly shifting landscape. Let's talk cold, hard cash for a second. Ford's recent financial statements show that they took a jaw-dropping hit of $1.3 billion in their EV division just in the first quarter of 2024. And according to their projections, they're bracing for a whopping $8 billion loss in their electric vehicle operations this year alone. This situation really shines a light on how the current pricing strategies just aren't cutting it. Producing electric vehicles comes with hefty costs, from manufacturing batteries to research and development. Traditional automakers are finding it tough to keep pace with nimble startups that have much lower operating expenses. Now, with these financial clouds looming, GM has decided to hit the brakes on their ambitious EV production goals. Remember when they aimed to crank out 1 million EVs by 2025? Well, recent announcements suggest they're taking a more cautious approach. This pivot is plainly visible when you look at the overall challenges the automotive industry faces in striving for economies of scale, which are necessary for profitability. As these veteran automakers heavily invest in moving their fleets toward electric power, they're also juggling the significant task of balancing innovation with the need to stay financially feasible. And it's not just the manufacturers feeling the strain. Substantial capital investments are paramount for traditional automakers to truly engage in the EV market. Unlike the scrappy startups that can throw all their resources into developing electric vehicles, big-name brands must continue to manage their existing internal combustion engine vehicle lines while pouring money into advancing new technologies. This dual commitment really complicates their road to financial recovery and raises some serious questions about their long-term survival in a hyper-competitive market. Now, let's dive into consumer hesitancy, a powerful force keeping the EV market in a bit of a sluggish state. Even though more people are becoming aware of environmental issues and government incentives are popping up to push EV adoption, fear and uncertainty have consumers second-guessing the switch. One big concern that keeps coming up is range anxiety, the nagging worry that an electric ride will run out of juice before reaching a charging station. Despite the leaps in battery technology improving range, many folks still fret about whether charging stations will be easy to find when they need them. Surveys reveal fascinating insights into what potential buyers want. They're prioritizing charging convenience and how far a vehicle can go on a single charge, which is an understandable concern. Unfortunately, the current state of charging networks is often lacking, especially in rural areas where charging stations can be scarce. On top of that, the ups and downs of electricity prices can add a layer of confusion when people compare the total cost of ownership between EVs and traditional vehicles. And let's not forget about upfront costs. They can be a real buzzkill for those considering an electric vehicle. Even though federal tax credits can help ease the financial burden a bit, the sticker prices for EVs usually come in significantly higher than those of comparable combustion engine vehicles. So when faced with those numbers, it's no surprise that some potential buyers decide to stick with more affordable alternatives, weighing their options carefully against what they can handle in their budgets. Which brings me to the third factor and where it all makes sense. Let's break it down. Dealerships in distress. Ever wonder what it's really like on the ground in the automotive industry during a big market shakeup? While the folks in corporate boardrooms are busy strategizing about production and pricing, it's the dealerships that represent the heart and soul of this market correction. Salespeople and dealership owners are confronting unique challenges as they navigate an increasingly complex and unpredictable landscape. Many salespeople are feeling the heat. Declining foot traffic and stagnant sales numbers have become the norm since the chaotic days of the pandemic when inventory was low but demand was sky high. One dealership owner candidly shared the heavy emotional toll of having to lay off staff due to dropping sales figures. For them, this wasn't just a business decision, it was a heartbreaking choice that affected a tight-knit group of colleagues who had developed a familial bond. On top of that, there's a big shift happening in consumer expectations. Nowadays, customers want top-notch service and clear pricing, which adds intense pressure on dealerships to adapt quickly. If they don't keep up, they risk losing customers who can find what they need online with just a few clicks. The move towards digital retailing means that dealerships aren't just selling cars anymore, they're vying to create exceptional customer experiences that rival those offered by online platforms. Now, let's dig into one of the key challenges facing these dealerships: high floor plan financing costs. What's that, you ask? Well, floor plan financing refers to loans dealerships take out to buy inventory from manufacturers before passing those vehicles on to customers. As inventory levels swell but sales falter, these costs become heavier on the dealer's shoulders, making it increasingly tough to turn a profit. For example, some dealers have reported that these financing costs chew through their margins so dramatically that they're forced to make some pretty drastic moves. Think big discounts or special promotional events just to offload excess inventory. One striking story involved a dealership that had to chop prices by a whopping $10,000 on certain models simply to get them sold before they racked up additional interest charges on their loans. That's not just a sale, it's a desperate scramble to maintain financial stability. These anecdotes highlight not only the financial strain on dealerships, but also reveal broader industry trends affecting consumers and manufacturers alike during this market correction. To truly understand what stirred this market upheaval, we need to look at larger economic factors that are impacting electric vehicles, as well as cultural shifts in consumer preferences, especially when it comes to pickup trucks, and recognize the very human side of the equation felt at dealerships throughout the country. As buyers navigate this ever-evolving landscape, being aware of these dynamics will be crucial. Understanding what dealers go through can help you make informed decisions in a world of uncertainty when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle. So let's dig a little deeper into this. Manufacturers versus dealers. Automakers are trying to find ways to get rid of dealers, and they are jumping on the new sales approach called the direct-to-consumer method. So knowing all of this, what should you do? A direct-to-consumer approach refers to a sales model where manufacturers sell their products directly to consumers, bypassing traditional retail channels. This approach allows brands to control the entire customer journey, from marketing to sales and after-sales service. The rise of e-commerce has facilitated this model, enabling manufacturers to reach customers more efficiently and cost-effectively. Manufacturers are loving the increased control they get from direct-to-consumer sales. By cutting out the middleman, they can set their own prices, strengthen their brand, and gain valuable insights into their customers' buying habits. It's a win-win. They can offer more competitive pricing or invest that savings into even better products and marketing. Plus, the direct connection with consumers helps build brand loyalty. Manufacturers can now craft personalized experiences that keep customers coming back, and with instant access to customer feedback, they can adapt quickly to market trends, leading to faster innovation. But as manufacturers embrace direct-to-consumer sales methods, traditional dealerships are feeling the heat. Brands like Tesla have shown that you can sell vehicles without relying on a dealer network. This shift poses a serious challenge to the dealership business model. Dealers may see their profit margins squeezed as manufacturers offer lower prices directly to consumers. They'll need to find new ways to stay relevant, whether that's beefing up their service offerings or focusing on customer experience over just vehicle sales. However, some dealers are getting creative. They're exploring partnerships with manufacturers to leverage their local market expertise while still benefiting from manufacturer support. It's all about adapting to survive in this new direct-to-consumer sales-driven world. Consumers stand to gain from the direct-to-consumer approach revolution, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. On the upside, they may score better pricing as manufacturers cut out distribution costs, and direct engagement can lead to more personalized service and support. But the downside, reduced options. If manufacturers prioritize their own direct-to-consumer channels, consumers might have fewer choices when it comes to test drives and immediate vehicle availability. Clearly, this is where the market is going towards, but what should buyers do till then? So what now? If you're sitting at home wondering how this car market crash might affect you, let's break it down from the buyer's perspective. The news of a crashing market isn't just some far-off phenomenon. It could change the way you approach buying your next vehicle, and potentially save you a lot of money in the process. Let's start with the new car scene. This slowdown could be the deal of the decade for you. Dealerships are drowning in unsold inventory, so the once fierce competition between buyers has done a complete 180. Remember when people were tripping over each other to snatch up the latest models? Now, those same shiny new trucks, SUVs, and sedans are just sitting on the lot, waiting for someone like you to come along. That means you could be looking at thousands in savings, whittling down that sticker price that would have been untouchable just a year ago. The key is to take your time, compare offers, and even get the dealerships competing for your business. With so many options, you're firmly in the driver's seat, but the deals don't stop there. Some manufacturers are still offering 0% APR financing, especially for buyers with great credit. That means you could drive off the lot in a brand new ride with monthly payments that won't break the bank. And don't be afraid to negotiate. When the market's this hungry for sales, you've got some serious bargaining power. Now, the used car market is a bit of a roller coaster. As new inventory floods in, used car prices have taken a nosedive, up to 60% in some areas. It's a buyer's paradise. But there's a catch. With interest rates soaring, financing a used car is getting trickier. The average rate for a used car loan is now over 14%. Ouch. That could eat into any savings you'd expect from snagging a cheaper ride. So what's the play here? If possible, try to pay cash for your used car. That way you sidestep those sky-high financing costs. If you do need a loan, shop around aggressively for the best rate. Banks, credit unions, and online lenders are all vying for your business, so don't be afraid to pit them against each other. One more silver lining, this flood of used cars means you might be able to snag a sweet deal on a higher end model, that luxury sedan or sports car you had your eye on. It could be within reach now, as dealerships slash prices to move that inventory. And finally, let's talk about EVs. If you've been flirting with the idea of going electric, this market crash could be the push you need. Automakers are pouring billions into EV development, and as new models hit the streets, they're offering some seriously tempting deals. Why? Well, brands like Ford and GM are facing major losses in their electric divisions, so they're desperate to sell more EVs fast. That translates to rock-bottom lease rates and other incentives that could make your transition to electric power much more affordable. Of course, EVs still have some hurdles. The upfront cost is still higher, and charging options may be limited in some areas. But if you're in a well-connected urban hub, the timing might be just right to make the switch. So there you have it, my friends. This car market crash isn't just doom and gloom. It's a golden opportunity for savvy buyers like yourself. Just remember to take your time, do your research, and haggle like your life depends on it. The question is, will you wait for a better price or dive right in? Let's know your thoughts on this. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.